Hello friends and welcome to a position 4 tier list. These are the best soft supports in the game right now, 7.39C. If you want the hard supports, that is in a previous video, links down below wherever. I recommend you check that out because I'm going to avoid any of the repetition. Some of the heroes show up in both lists, but also the meta shift that has changed. If you want that, gonna skip over in this video, so it's in the last one. We're gonna start here with the pro scene, move into the pub scene, timestamps if you want to skip that. This one feels a little weirder to me this patch around because I think there are more power picks for position 5 at the pro level and then for some of the core roles. So when you move into position 4, if you're opening with a position 4, it's someone quite generic who just fits a lot of lineups like Shadow Shaman, like Dark Willow, Bat Rider, or you have gone with one of those power picks after the banning phase, the position 5, like Naga, Undying type heroes, one of your strong offlaners, or it's a flex pick. And then as you get to your position 4 pick, you're like, I want something generic. So here's something safe that flexes between 4 and 5, that is good but not strictly the best in the game. Or, hey, we're going to go for this power duo pick right here. We're going to go Dawnbreaker Tusk for our duo pick. And Tusk may not be the greatest hero, but it's good versus their first pick and good with our offlane pick combo or our carry pick combo. So there's actually a lot of heroes you will see here because they match different things. Like, oh, we pick Tiny early because it'll flex. So I guess all this to say that at the pro level, position 4 feels not as clear to me. This like S-A-B tier. Many of these heroes are good and shine given the right game. With all that said, I still put Shadow Shaman in the S tier just because he feels like he fits quite a lot. Whether you want to play him 4 or 5, he will contribute in any number of ways. The instant Hex Shackle combo, the ultimate to push objectives. He's in the position 5 tier list, so we won't repeat too much here. As a position 4, though, you have a little bit more kill threat. You can potentially stack the triangle. You're not the best duo stacker or double stacker because you're kind of short range, kind of slow hero, but you're pretty good at rotating either through the Twin Gate or for the power runes because Hex and Shackle are really good lockdown even in the like very first few minutes when you don't have a lot. There's not a ton of mobility at that point, so there is a chance you will surprise someone with the Hex Shackle in a meaningful way rather than some other heroes out there. Then we got Dark Willow. She feels like when you need a ranged support who is going to do a lot of damage and could combo with various offlaners, but you haven't picked that offlaner yet, it's Dark Willow, right? No matter what it is, like, yeah, I'll Bramble block them off. I'll have Shadow Realm to like poke them and then dodge some stuff and then hit them with a big, attack from the Shadow Realm. That's going to work with any number of offlaners. It's also going to be fine versus most safe laners they could pick. So she feels like a very safe hero that just contributes a lot through her spells, and you will see her picked up a ton. Not that every game is the greatest Dark Willow game, but that she is going to be fine in pretty much any game. Tusk is really good with a lot of the offlaners because you can either combo with Tag Team, Snowball, Ice Shards to help set up kills with these aggressive offlaners, Dawnbreaker being the most notable combo. But if it is, a weaker matchup, you go with a ranged offlaner. If you do combo well, great. If not, you're just going to do some creep dragging, do a little stacking in between, rotate to the mid lane, and you're going to be really good at that because you have the Snowball, the Ice Shards. You don't need a Blink Dagger, but it is going to be the first item he's going to buy because the Blink Snowball is very strong right now versus many of the meta heroes. You can see a lot on here that are already good. Shackle, like you see Bedlam target being destroyed, Lasso, right? You're just going to go and Snowball save many of those heroes. Shadow Demon is going to do something very similar with Disruption. And as a position 4, you're not the strongest laner, but you are one of the best double stackers in the game. And a lot of the meta offlaners right now are happy to get a lot of solo XP in the lane once you help a little bit with equilibrium, and then they can all farm stacks pretty quickly. And if it's not them, it's your mid laner, and if it's not the mid laner, it's the carry. Like, someone is going to do the stacks. You're going to have a decent time. And if you do have a good matchup because you just disrupt, let the Dawnbreaker do the rest, Disruption, Axe walks in, calls in the creep wave, right? There's a bunch of heroes that can make Disruption work. Disseminate is then strong against the enemy heroes, but you can use Disseminate on teammates. So when you have an Axe who jumps in and calls, you can use Disseminate on him and reflect more damage back to the enemy teams. There's a lot of creative combos to use with his ability and with this hero, so he's quite strong right now. Nature's Prophet, and actually Bat Rider as well, to me, not every team is playing these heroes. Most teams are going to play these 4 heroes. Nature's Prophet, depending on the team, some still like him as a support, especially when they flex him as a core. But other teams have decided, like, yeah, with the nerfs, we don't really like this hero. We just don't really prioritize it, and it'll just slip through, which is funny for an A-tier hero, right? That's usually in contention for most games, but some teams just don't care about Nature's Prophet. But when you get him, it's going to be a lot of the same stuff. You're going to have a decent lane. You're going to stack if it's not. A lot of games, you'll see them farming the jungle, either the side lane camp on their half of the map or the side lane camps on the enemy's half of the map. It doesn't really matter where. You TP there, you farm, the team knows, like, okay, chill until the teleport's available again. Okay, now it is. Nature's has been farming the whole time, and he will now show up to the fights. So this is kind of how teams are making use of how big the map is, especially those side camps. Could also be the Bat Rider making use of those side camps. He's one of the strongest laners right now. The Firefly facet is the one you go for. Stoked, I think it's called. You will trade with it. Just kind of the same laning as you usually do. Knockback, run them down with the Firefly. But then as you get later into the game, you kind of like, you pop it early, wait a little bit so it builds up, and then you blink lasso, same as usual, but it's even more effective than before. So it's really the same concept of Bat Rider support in the past, just the stoked facet is like kind of the new part, but it doesn't really change what you do. It just changes how effective you are at it, which currently is pretty good right now. Just to briefly mention some of these other B tier and lower heroes. B tier is all relatively common to see. This is where different heroes have been banned out already, and it's like, okay, we're kind of picking to adapt, or we picked it early because it's going to flex. Like Tiny is the main example. Ringmaster should maybe be moved down. He's been much less popular since he got nerfed. I don't know. There are games I think like this still looks like a good Ringmaster game. I know the lane is worse, but the utility his spells offer are just good enough, but we just don't see it. I have to imagine the teams tried him in scrims and have just been liking him less and less, but I don't know. I can't help but feel it's a little bit underestimated. I don't think it's that bad for how rarely we seem to see this hero, but that's at least where it currently stands. So if you want to put them in C tier, I'd say that's reasonable. Most of these C tier heroes you will very rarely see. It's either a last second flex, like you pick the Gyro Terrorblade and you swap them to the supports, but only a couple teams like to do that, or you're getting really down in the hero pools, or you're looking for something specific. I'd say of these heroes, something like Nyx has been seeing more play. I think teams are trying it versus the Dawnbreaker, but I have literally only seen it lose. I think 3 games at least, where it just, I see the counter on paper, but Mind Flare not killing creeps, and then no actual buffs to his laning stage just are not, it's not doing it at the pro level from what I've seen. But part of it is that I think a lot of teams aren't comboing it with enough global heroes, like at least one, so that you can threaten a little bit more with Vendetta. So maybe that'll catch back on again, and maybe his win rate will go up a bit. Position 4 heroes for pubs. You'll notice there's a lot of position 5 heroes on this list, because in pub games, there's not a true difference between 4 and 5 until I would say at least Legend. The occasional player will do it differently, but many people will just play it the same way. And that's why S tier heroes like Witch Doctor and Warlock, who were top tier position 5s, their win rates they kind of speak for themselves for pub games, even though they're not really position 4s. Warlock, actually, his is dipping down a little bit. He's one of those eternally positive win rate heroes in pub games, but actually at higher ranked games, it's starting to dip. So he is maybe moving away from S tier into just A tier position 4 substitute, but that's still pretty good. So I don't know. It doesn't really matter S or A tier. All these heroes kind of do the same stuff that we talked about in the position 5 tier list. So not going to repeat myself too much there. Dark Willow in the position 5 tier list, same deal, but I do want to talk a little bit more about why she's better in position 4. It's just because the sooner you get Bedlam, the sooner you can kill people. And because you can kill people, you really want either the Yule Scepter, because that helps you set up your own combo where you Curse Crown someone, Yules them, they drop, they get stunned. You can Bramble, walk up next to them, Bedlam. You can Bramble, Terrorize, walk up, Bedlam. There's like a whole series of things you can do with the Yules to set up the self combo. Or you can get a Blink, and if any of your teammates have a stun, they blink, stun, you just blink, Bedlam, even if they don't have the damage. Someone like Legion Commander, very popular in pubs, but often doesn't have the damage to get the kills in the early game. literally as long as she duels, you just blink Bedlam and they will die. It's so much damage if you can guarantee the solo Bedlams, which is what the Blink Dagger really helps for. It's like, oh, well, what if I blink in and die? That's what Shadow Realm is for. So it's just this, it's such an ideal item build for this hero. You really don't want to move out of it, but for position 5, you'll understand why. Is Blink Dagger and Yule's really the best to be rushing as a position 5? No, and that's why she's a much better position 4. And it's usually like Brown Boots / Tranquils, Yule / Blink. The exact order depends on the game, but oftentimes you'll see that mix of items as her first 2 to 3 items. I think the buffed Hive Mind on Weaver makes him a pretty viable position 4 in pub games, especially because you've got the invis nature and the high scaling potential as this hero. Just max swarm, throw the bugs out, be annoying in the lane. You do have to be careful, especially in the early levels where you're quite squishy. But once you get past that, you are going to keep up in levels with a lot of the core heroes, depending on the game. Because sometimes it's very passive AFK farming, and then you don't get a lot of value out of swarm, and that's where it feels bad. But then there are games where it's just non-stop fighting, and you keep throwing out the swarm, and you're going to be super high level. And in this current meta, where there's a lot of slow attacking melee offlaners, the bugs actually do quite a lot of damage. Now, I know you're playing position 4 into the carry, so in the lane that won't matter, but later on in the game, you will get the value of the swarm to scout people out, steal their XP, but also cancel their blinks, things like that. It's a greedier pick. You have to really know what you're doing. If you don't, move him down a little bit, but I think anyone who really knows how to make use of the Invis Shikuchi and the swarm and stuff, there's a lot of scaling potential on the Weaver that is nice to have as a position 4. Phoenix is the same as position 5. It's just like people just don't know how to play versus Phoenix, so it's good. Spirit Breaker as a position 4, you're going to be able to roam around more than position 5, so you're going to have a better time. Creep Drag in the lane if the lane doesn't look good, and then once that happens and your offlaner's in a decent spot, anytime you're off the map, it's scary. You could be anywhere, you could be charging anywhere, and the later the game goes, your scaling is still there. He dropped out of the meta a little bit because his farming speed went down when he was super busted, but for pub games, you kind of get past that. There's a lot of random farm for you to pick up, games go long enough for you to still reach the same end game point, and you just need stuns in most pub games, which is the same reason that Clockwork is still up here, just offering a mix of everything. Item build is open to whatever your team needs, but a nice greedy option is the Aghanims for the Rocket Flare scouting, and that is also a way to farm different parts of the map, to just keep using Rocket Flares over there, but if not the Ags, any other number of items is good. Natures can actually be a position 4. It's the same as what I just said on the pro tier list. You do all the same stuff, but you need to have good map awareness to show up to different places. Otherwise, you're going to grief yourself. Jakiro, Silencer, and Venge are all better position 5s, in my opinion. They don't really want to creep drag if the lane is bad. If you can't creep drag and you just have to play the lane, there's no guarantee you can get the hard camp open against the right heroes, right? They can really emphasize it, body blocking, constantly put sentries. And at that point, what do? You don't really roam all that well. Your spells, like the stuns are there, but they're either too short range duration or short range cast range. Silencers like slowly walking up and then just using a silence. Like they're very awkward position 4s. But in pub games where the laning stage goes long and there's not a lot of roaming, and even when all this matchup's bad, they're supposed to creep drag. I pulled all the creeps under my own tower and shoved the lane out. Oh, why did I do that? Right? You just get away with it. So if you want to play these heroes as position 4s, you can then just rely on the fact that after the laning stage, they're just strong supports. Silencer with the infinite scaling brain drain for the scrappy pub games, the swap potential for Venge that will put people out of position. Jakiro, just all around build to do like whatever your team needs. Damage, crowd control, whatever. I'm gonna bump Undying up to A tier as well. I believe Undying is a position 5. In my heart, I believe that because you have the most room to run people down. You're the most likely to play into the strength offlaner type heroes that you're the best versus. But I have seen many cases of position 4 Undying working out, and I think he's strong right now, where maybe you're not versus a strength carry, but they already start with like 600 health, and then you steal 88 of that per decay, and they just don't respect it, and you get easy kills. I have seen it. I started to do it myself, and I'm like, I don't think this should work, but I just got a double kill. Like, I hate to say it, but I think he's actually a pretty effective position for most pub games. Now, you will suffer the weakness where if you have to creep drag, if you have to roam, if you have to do any of that, you're awful at any of that. You provide no stuns, all of that. But boy, are you good in lanes, and sometimes that's all it takes in a pub game. So I think he actually is an A tier hero for many pubs. All right, for the B tier, Ringmaster did drop off in the pro scene, like I said, because his early damage got nerfed a lot, but the other abilities all have very similar value, same utility, but he's a tough hero because you do have to, land all the abilities, combo them. So if you're not good at it, he's actually like even lower. He's like a C tier hero. But for most pubs where you get past the weaker laning stage, he then does a lot of the same stuff. And so I think he's pretty, he's fine if you know the hero. The same thing goes for Muerta. She's very skill shot dependent. And so as much as people want to believe in themselves and oh, I'm going to be a good Muerta, a lot of us are not pros, and then we miss the skill shots. And when you miss the skill shots on Muerta support, you're really not doing very much. So if you truly are good at these skill shots and you've learned the abilities, the cast range, all that, you know where to put the ghosts to get the silence instantly, dead shot them back in, all of that, right? Then she is a good hero. She's going to have scaling potential. But as soon as you start missing stuff, it's like D tier. You might as well have played anyone else. Bounty's going to do really well in any kind of game where there's a lot of fighting, which happens a lot in pubs. It's usually like super passive or super fighty. So it's up to you what you think you run into more. Some regions are more one side or the other. So if you think you're constantly running into high fighting games, Bounty can be good. Your laning stage is not the strongest, but you have such high base stats. You can creep drag. You can just poke people with Janata, all sorts of stuff. You're good roaming because you got the invis, right? You'll get through the lanes once you learn a little bit of Bounty Hunter. In the past, Venomancer support really suffered because Plague Wards were easy to farm. And so you ran into this issue where you wanted to go, you need 1 point in Q, you want your passive, and you'd love to max your passive because its scaling damage is crazy, but 1 point in Plague Ward doesn't feel good when it only takes 2 hits to kill. One of the changes to the hero is that most heroes take 3 hits to kill the level 1 Plague Ward now, which means it's much more comfortable to go a 1-3-1 build. You could still do something like 1-1-4, 1-2-4, something like that. Either way, the point is that you're no longer put in this weirder situation where you're like, I kind of need at least 2 points in Plague Wards for it to be any good, because they have more starting health. So that's given him more standard starts in a lot of games, and after that, you kind of do a lot of the same stuff you used to. Septic Shock also, Septic Shock catches a lot of people off guard, the extra damage per debuff. And so some people are exploring with Orb of Frost. I'd say in the right games, it's actually pretty good. But I also feel like you farm pretty decently and you very quickly have to replace that item. So I actually don't love it. But anyways, if you think it's a great game, I mean, give it a shot. I've been a little conflicted on it myself, but the win rates speak for himself. He's at 51% across the board, which is pretty solid. Shadow Demon, as long as you know what you're up to, it's not too bad. Disseminate is very good right now. Stacking the poisons the same as usual. It's a lot about Disseminate being strong versus so many Blade Mail builders, either on your team or against your team. And then Disruption being a great save versus many of the other supports. Many of the cores, like the Axe, the Legions, trying to duel people. Puck, trying to silence, coil people. You just walk in and save them. Lion, good versus those high mobility heroes. Some of the best mid laners are Queen of Pain, Ember Spirit, Puck. Those type of heroes are constantly jumping around, and the instant hex into stun is really good. If they're on your team, you can be mana draining into them to give them mana. So Lion still has a decent place, especially if the enemy team has already shown heroes like Clockwork, who instantly cancel Shackle really easily. That's where Lion's a little better, but for the typical pub game where there is a lack of crowd control, you often get away with the shackles, and I'd say Shadow Shaman's in a better spot than Lion right now. I think ET is not bad right now. His aura removing resistances is pretty useful to help kill some of these tankier heroes, as well as the ultimate doing max HP damage. The tricky part is, I'm going to sleep them, set up the ultimate, and your team wakes them up. So, I mean, if you're an ET player, you know it, you got to deal with it, but when you do land it, it's going to be pretty good. Earthshaker, seeing a little bit of a resurgence. Earthshaker 4 was pretty dead for a while, but it's starting to come back. You have all the different creep dragging options, the fissure blocking, all of that is still good. The twin gate rotations are there, the mid rotations are there. It's a lot of the same old for Earthshaker. If you do choose to play the lane, the fact that you have the little slugger for free, since they made that part of your innate, does help you secure some lane CS a little bit more while doing a little bit of harassing. And jungle camps especially, like when the enemies do pulls in your jungle camps, you can get a surprising amount of damage sometimes if you're like, you combo the spell so you suddenly kill 3 creeps like real close together and they all hit the enemy heroes. I've seen enough cases of a surprise burst kill from Earthshaker 4s that it's something nice that you have going for you now, but you don't, like, it felt weird to take Little Slugger. You're like, I'm not really lasting, I don't need to take this facet, but now you get it for free, you get the other facet, but you still get the Little Slugger effects. It helps you in those situations. Skywrath is in a decent spot because Atos is in a decent spot. It got nerfed, but it's still pretty popular amongst different heroes, and Skywrath would be one such hero. You don't see it too much in the pro level, and it's in pubs, it's a little tricky because I've been talking about all these like bulky melee offlaners, and that's where you have a finite amount of damage, and so if they exceed that damage, especially with the blade mail, you end up hurting yourself quite a lot. But fortunately, a lot of pub games don't actually follow the meta I've been describing, and they will still pick squish your heroes, and you still have the potential to Atos, ult them, things like that. So as long as you learn how to like play the lane, don't overuse your spells, do a lot of right-click harass, you can always have a decent time with Skywrath, and the instant silence plus the damage amp is quite nice to have in many games. Mirana, it's just about like landing a random arrow, having the invis on your ultimate, allowing you to find different kills. She's not really in the greatest of spots right now. That's why, to me, she's just very average. Zeus, I do think there are quite a few strong offlaners right now, and so you provide a little extra burst, the slow with your jump, and it can help you get kills, get you started so you have enough mana regen to be bolting everywhere, win the vision war. Always nice to have the vision advantage in a pub game, and there's always a lot of invis heroes in a lot of pub games, and so then you see them as well. He is a little bit of a greedy 4 though, so be careful. It's very easy to grief with this hero and then be like C tier or worse. But as long as you know how to play a solid Zeus, he's pretty average in my opinion. Crystal Maiden is a better 5, but you'll see her enough in the position 4s that it is what it is. I don't think it's that great, but the kill combo is still the same. They underestimate you. They walk up too much. You press QW. This time it's a squishy carry instead of an offlaner. It's actually even easier to get the kill sometimes. So it is something you can do. Tusk, he should maybe be lower. His win rate's pretty bad for pubs. He's just a very hard to execute hero, but genuinely he's a good hero. Like you saw in the pro tier list, if you saw my position 5 tier list, if you know what you're doing, and especially if you play with anybody, and you know how to like, let's go, tag team, all that stuff, he's quite good, but it's very easy to mess up his abilities because he is a tough hero to properly execute on, and if you're not very good at it, he is very bad. So I'm just having him an average. If you base it off win rate, it really would be like C to D tier. Clinks, this is a greedy pick, but it will work. Your lane's not that great, but as soon as you are level 6, you are an invis hero who can move around the map real quick, farm decently, and reach that pick-off potential. Again, very greedy, not actually that good in the meta right now, but it is just always strong in pub games to be an invis assassin type hero. You know, I'll skip ahead to Nyx assassin. It's the same deal. Your lane sucks. And at the high levels of the game, the loss of the farm speed from Mind Flare mean that you never make it to Dagon on time, you never get that solo burst potential, and it's not good. But pub games, people skip defensive items. I still see the Dagon builds on Nyx, so they eventually assassinate people. Then you're just this invis hero running around. It's always strong in pubs. That's why they're up here. I think Pudge 4 is actually in an okay spot. I have seen people take Rotting Core, and you kind of use that in the lane to trade and go for denies with the extra damage. If you take the other one, I think that's also fine. But I mean, you just hook people. You know, that's always been good. It's really about landing the hook or not. But once you do, I mean, that's strong, and his win rate it's pretty close to 50. It depends on, like, it's a little above 50 for some brackets, a little below 50. So it really depends on just, is your Pudge 4 player any good at landing hooks? If you are looking at this tier list like, should I start playing Pudge? Can you land the hooks? Then you will do it. And in the lane, especially if you're using Rotting Core, you can go for denies and harass, things like that. So I know it's the meme classic bad pick, but I think it's actually okay for pub games. Abaddon, actually, just the whole chunk of these remaining heroes, really, like Abaddon, Oracle, Lich, Wyvern, Ancient Apparition. These are all better position 5s, but you can just make them work as position 4s by playing like a position 5, ignoring all the elements of position 4, which if you're not sure on the difference, I do have a video, the the difference between support roles, but then also like an ultimate guide, whatever, to each individual role. And if you watch all those videos, you'll start to understand what I mean, why like there's an advantage to being a position 4 based on the map and like where you are versus position 5. And so when I'm talking about these, I'm kind of brushing it over in this tier list, but if you're really curious on that, you can watch those old videos. Sorry, I just whacked the mic. I'm just so excited about redirecting you to my old videos. Dazzle's in that category. Disruptor, I am willing to accept as a position 4. I do think he's a little bit better as a position 5, but I like the greedy potential of position 4 Disruptor, because the early levels you are a bit level dependent, and so the sooner you hit your 6, the sooner you get high levels of glimpse, the better this hero is. Thunderstorm is the better facet right now. As much as I want Kinetic Fence to be a thing, it's pretty iffy. It's okay in certain games, but the field is a little hard to pass up. And that's why most people take Thunderstorm, which is just fine. I don't think it's even that like amazing of a facet. I think it's just fine. You're just keeping kinetic field. And then the Aghanims is the best Ags pretty much for any support out there. It is so powerful. So as a position 4, you've got a little bit more chance to get to that item. And then like Blink Ags is a death sentence for most heroes if you trap them with kinetic field, which is why most people go Thunderstorm. Pugna and Techies, I think, are getting up there as position 4s. I think they're a little slept on. Pugna, the Siphoning Ward is a surprising amount of healing. So drop that in the trees and just look to fight the enemy. And if they, especially in pubs where they're not paying attention to the buff bar, they're more likely to trade into you. High level players will see it. They'll know to step out of the range. But if you hide it in the trees for a lot of pubs, they'll cast a spell not noticing, and you'll get a lot of healing back. They'll take some damage. So you can win a lot of trades that way, poke them down, Q, auto attack, be a fast little bony man, and just whittle them down. Techies, you do something similar, try to do a lot of harass, and then slip into the trees for a bit, blast off in. It's a crazy amount of damage, especially combined with any aggressive offlaner. And then from there, you're like the same old Techie, same old Pugna from the past, really good. Pugna, push objectives, work with teammates. Techies, use the bombs for vision, put them in key areas, capture the twin gates, like just surrounded by mines. No one gets to use them or they insta-die. It's very strong to get map control for your team. All right, as we get to this C to D tier, it's a lot of supports who are either not in a good spot or they're weird supports that's like, hey, I saw this pro player do it. Can I do it? And it's like, yeah, but it's not that good. So Tiny keeps getting nerfed. He does what he needs to as a position 4. It's literally just worse than what it was a couple patches ago, yet still good enough to be considered, especially for the flex value for pros. But for pubs, there is no flex value, so instead of Tiny, why not just play one of these other melee initiators? Bat Rider, truly good if given the space to be greedy, and that's what's often lacking in pubs, which is why I don't love him for a lot of pub games unless you know what you're doing or you're like higher ranked games. For the lower ranked games, you're often just not going to get the true value out of Bat Rider. Marcy and Dawnbreaker, decent 4s, but you need aggressive lane partners, and then you got to go in for the kills. If you're not going to go for kills, Marcy is going to drop off very quickly. Dawnbreaker will as well, but you are also planning to play for like farming empty parts of the map and then ulting in. And so that's like the recovery of Dawnbreaker support. But then no one on your team is going to do anything and you don't start fights. So then no one's going to do anything and they're all going to be farming and then you're not going to have space. And then that's where that one falls apart a little bit. So they work, but they kind of have like a one game plan kind of mind, and it's difficult to flex to other things compared to some of these other heroes. Even like someone like Jakiro, who's not a true position 4, but he fits different things. So if you have to initiate, it's not the best, but like you can kind of do it, you know? Or if you need to farm, you can do it. These guys kind of have a one track plan. Snapfire's down here just for the coordination she requires with her team, but they are buffing different elements. I'm not interested enough to play it yet, but I do think if they keep buffing her facet for the DPS on Mortimer's Kisses, I think there's probably some kind of interesting build there with like the Ag Shard, maybe like a Helm Dom. That might be an offlaner thing of like using that to farm up. I think that could be interesting. Whether it's good, I don't know, but it could be interesting. I think a little bit more buffs, and I might be more interested in that. Gyrocopter support's the same as position 5. You're just playing it from position 4. Not in the best spot, but workable. Grimstroke, Coddle, they all require the coordination in pubs. Coddle got nerfed so that the Chakra Magic's not nearly as good, and so he's pretty much out of it. Grimstroke is just purely coordination. I think if you actually play with a lane partner, it's actually quite good. But that's just like the iffy part. Bane 5 is stronger, but Bane 4 is good enough that I would consider him an actual possible position 4, mainly because the Ags is quite nice, and if you can get there with a little bit more greed as a position 4, it's pretty doable. Omni Knight's a way better 5. As position 4, it's just hard to run people down because they're right by the tower. The saves are the exact same saves you have as a position 5, but you have no roaming potential. Your stacking potential is kind of bad. Lashrak 4 is truly good, especially for pub games. A lot of people will will underestimate the Diabolic Edict plus Misanthropy damage, and you will get a lot of free kills. And then from there, you could build purely as a core. I'd say that's pretty greedy. I would do a mix of like some damage, some utility for the team, and that'll be actually strong. But I mean, if you just keep getting free kills, yeah, I would understand if you go for damage. A lot of people like to get Blink pretty quickly on Leshrac to make sure you can do that. And it ends up being very similar to Dark Willow with the Bedlam, which is like, if you can isolate the target, you will kill them. Level 4 Diabolic Edict with Misanthropy does like 1,400 damage. I think it's like a little less than 1,400. It does that amount of damage in like 5 or 6 seconds. That's crazy, and it's pure damage, so there's no like resistances. So the Blink Dagger, if you can put yourself in the right position, you have a team who initiates and you just follow up, it's pretty strong. Treant 5 is better, but 4 Treant is better than some of these other options here. Magnus, as long as you're good with Skewer, you can make Magnus support work. Like, learn how to Skewer in the lane, learn how to stack, and then eventually you get the Blink, and then you're just making like Blink Skewer plays, Blink RPs. I've seen it work enough that I think it's good. You're not really playing. You'll empower teammates because you have it, but it's not like you're an empower bot. You are an initiator once you get the Blink. Ogre's a better 5. You'll do the same stuff as 4, though. Rubik, this one, you heard me say in the position 5 tier list, like, I'm surprised he's not as good. I still stand by that. He does have a weaker laning stage, but you can stack. I think if you actually know how to play Rubik in pubs, you can play him right now and have some pretty good success. But a lot of people mess it up, the weak laning stage, plus then the trickiness of like stealing the right spells, and that's why his win rate usually looks pretty bad. I don't know who hates Earth Spirit at Valve, but his win rate is not good, and they keep not buffing him, so he's not a good hero. Ricky 4, I think as long as you know how to creep drag, you can actually make it work. Unfortunately, he's really good versus some popular supports and then not good versus others. So like any save heroes hate Ricky because the smoke screen shard is really powerful and core players can't read. So they're like, why aren't my supports are so bad? And they're like, no, you're standing it. I can't use it on you. And then the team breaks down. You win off of that. So it's like, it's genuinely good in those cases. But if it's not, and then you're also having an iffy game, it's just sad. You'd rather be like any other melee 4. But if you just want to do it for fun, like I like doing it for fun, it does work. Same deal with Tinker 4. The making use of the map is still a very good thing. So you can do that. Wind Ranger, if you're good with skill shots, kill shot especially is quite strong. You're seeing like using kill shot in the lane, get the shard. And then from there, you kind of go back to being a core for pubs, I would say is pretty good. Pros will still do a little bit more utility. I'd say either build is fine, but I mean, a lot of pubs, the reason you're picking Wind Ranger is for that late game scaling. So you can start with utility, then go into the damage. I'd say that's fine. Hoodwink, I honestly think Hoodwink is worse than some of these other heroes, but she is an actual position 4. And especially as they buff her W, I think she's more about catching people, like frequent active plays rather than like the farming damage. I don't think it's that great right now, but it's getting there. Okay, Looks like the rest of these heroes are cursed heroes that I have here because I know people are going to ask about, but I wouldn't actually... They're not really the best position 4s, but you can do them. And you will see pros do it, but a lot of the reason the pros do it is usually as a flex value thing. Now, Viper's not really in this category right now because the pros aren't doing it, but I've seen people talk about it a lot. Yes, the Q is very strong in the lane, and if you get a lot of kills, it's going to kind of work. But your actual utility is not that great. A lot of it is reliant on being a right-clicking core compared to like Wind Ranger, or isn't that the same? Well, yeah, but you also have Shackle. You have the kill shot, right? There's like, oh, you got the dodge. Like, Viper must attack. And so usually the only time you see him as a support is when he's strong enough that his attacks are so good, he like solo wins. He's like the ranged Undying, and he's not in that spot right now, so he's not very good. Wouldn't recommend it, but he's not the worst in the world compared to other things for the people who ask, so I would put him in like this C to D category. Actually, I'm gonna put him in the D category. Tidehunter, you can play around Gush, get the shard. It's like, it's okay, but there's a lot easier supports you could play, guys. You're only playing Tidehunter because you love it, and in that case, knock yourself out, but Tidehunter support just not particularly amazing. I think Lina 4 has actual potential just because you can constantly poke people from far like Wind Ranger and play to scale up and be greedy like Wind Ranger. The reason she's a better core right now, though, is because you can either go for this Maelstrom right-clicking build and need less mana to maintain stacks while still farming quickly, or you're a mid laner and you're getting a lot of mana regen items, burst potential items, things that you would do as a 4 support, but you would just do it worse. And so you're going to have less regen to work with, less spells, less stacks to keep up your move speed, attack speed, right? It's just like a worse version of the mid Lina. So it's like kind of doable if you really want, but not really the best. Night Stalker 4 with Night Rain is still playable, but it's not really strong enough that you need to do it, and that you couldn't just play another hero and be in a better spot. So only if you just, want to mix it up from the usual supports. Invoker 4, I think, is getting there to be pretty good. I think the earn changes were very strong for Invoker. I did play it a handful of times, about a 50% win rate. Over like 10 games. I'm not fully sure which facet's the best. I think the Scholar of ZQuixotix, which I think is the Quas one, I like the shard, and I think it's pretty cool because you can like split push and get really farmed. But then what do you build? Because I don't think the Ags is that good. So I actually think the Wex Invoker is probably the safer one. The Ag shard is good utility in fights, and then you can use the EMP is very strong in team fights. Alacrity to give your cores attack speed is going to naturally fit with Wex. You're going to be fast during a Ghost Walk because of max level Wex. So I think the Wex is actually the good one, but I like the idea of Scholars of ZQuixotix. Zach, I saw X Pro play Chaos Knight, Axe, Ember, Puck, Slark, TA, Medusa as position 4, position 5. Can I do that? Yes, but... the reason pros usually do this is the draft advantage. You reveal the hero, the enemies respond to it, and then surprise, it's position 4. It's not a good position 4, it is acceptable. And the reason you're getting away with it is because you now have a super dominant mid matchup or carry matchup or offlane matchup because surprise, you thought this was a core, you counterpicked it, and it's actually just a support. So that's why the pros do it. It's not like S tier 4, S tier mid, awesome combo. It's C tier support with S plus tier mid, and that mid player is Nisha, so he carries your ass. Do you trust your random pub mid players? It's like, they countered Puck with Sniper, now you get the good matchup guy, and he goes, great, Ember, and you're like, wait, Ember's also countered by Sniper. Why did you do that? So that's why I wouldn't really recommend you play any of these heroes just in general as position 4s. I'd say Chaos Knight's probably the best actual, like if you want to play position 4. The others can work. It's just harder than playing others, which is fine. It's a video game. If you want to mix it up, go for it. Chain Gang for Ember, Axe, you're kind of still playing for Blink Initiator. Axe is just slower to get there. Enigma and Death Prophet I think are actually quite viable. Enigma for the same reason as position 5. but maybe support Enigma 5 is better. Death Prophet got nerfed, really dropped off. I was seeing Death Prophet supports be pretty good prior to the nerf, and the nerfs are more about the Aghanim Scepter build that Death Prophet goes for. So I kind of think this Death Prophet support that goes like Atos or Glimmer, like Solar Crest, like those types of items is still kind of good. The -1 armor hurts, but I don't know. I think you could do it if you want to. Do you have to? No, you could just play like one of the other supports. But if you you need that mix up, then I think it's not that bad. Over here, Monkey King's just not that great right now. Alk support farming Ag's not that great right now, but it's not the, I don't know. It like sometimes works if there's good Ags on your team. Sniper support is not great because of scatter shot's not good with the shrapnel. You'll see people do it and it'll work, but it's usually people getting hit by overcommitting, getting killed by scatter shot, and then respawning and not punishing the fact that he has no scatter shot. He rebuilds the charges, then they try to fight, and then get hit by 3 charges again. They go, this is busted. And then they sit back. Like, you have to avoid sniper, full commit, kill him. That's how it, like, once you do that, he's got nothing. But a lot of people don't know how to do that. They pick bad heroes. They have no way to gap close, anything like that. And then that's why it works. But it's not actually that good. Primal Beast isn't really support right now. Naga, same issues as position 5. You just grief too much. But it's way better as a 5 than a 4. Because it's funny because she is going to get farmed, but the way the lane plays out, she's better in 5, and for the fact that she needs nothing at the start, I'm not explaining that well. Imagine it's like a curve. Naga support needs nothing to be effective, and then later has a lot of scaling potential, but in that beginning to mid game, she doesn't need anything. Compare that to like a Bat Rider 4 at a pro level, you need a fast blink. So when the Naga, like if you swap them, Bat Rider 5, Naga 4, Naga would get a bunch of gold and she'd be like, I mean, I guess I'll get a mech, you know, but like, it's not like I really do anything different. But Bat Rider over there being poor because he's a position 5 is like, please, I would love, I'm a different hero with the blink dagger. And it's like, well, I'm about the same hero with a mech now, right? That's kind of why Naga 4 is weird, if that makes sense. The power spike is kind of irrelevant to being position 4 compared to position 5, whereas other heroes truly need to be position 4s for maximum success. Now, is any of that true in a pub game? I don't know, but that's why she's a better 5, but also in pub games, she's still Naga Siren, and you're going to be iffy. Same with Io. Morph support's dead. I'll probably take him off this list. It's just there as a reminder. These guys are better 5s. They're just complicated heroes. Get a lot of questions about Darkseer support. No, I don't believe in it. Yes, it's got some utility stuff, but your innate works off of leveling up. You're going to level up more as a core than a support. Ion Shell cannot help but farm while doing damage. You're not supposed to be farming and stealing farm from your core, so why are you Ion Shelling them? All right, you should just be Darkseer offlane at that point. Terrorblade 4 is still kind of a thing. It's one of those flexes that the pro teams will do. It's okay. It's just not as good as it used to be. They keep trying to nerf this hero as a core, which then hurts it as a support. So it's just not in a good spot. Huskar support was kind of hoping to be a thing. It's just like not quite there. It's better as a core. Medusa, you're just playing to be really tanky the lane and hit people with like Snake and Gorgon's Grasp. It's doable. It's just not that great right now. Wouldn't recommend this. This is just like 9 class. It's just don't do it. Slark you could do, but you probably need like actual teammates who aren't gonna get mad at you because you need to play around the vision. The laning stage is still weird, but you gotta like find people for your team with the vision advantage, do a lot of dewarding, save people with the depth shroud, stuff like that. So it's a lot of utility value that your teammates have to take advantage of. So unless you trust your teammates to do that, you're not gonna get much value out of Slark support, and I wouldn't recommend you guys do that. Tofu played puck, can I? Yeah, I mean, you do the same stuff he did, but again, part of the value is that his mid laner is getting a really good matchup since he took over the puck, and his mid laner now has a different matchup. And that is who he will then play with, his mid laner. So if you don't trust your mid laner, you should just play, but different support. All right, guys, thank you for watching. That is the position 4 tier list. Let me know any of your questions. Maybe we'll do a core tier list. I'm not really much of a core player, but we could maybe do like a brief one, like top 5, something like that. I'll think about it. Let me know. Give me your feedback. You guys who made it to the end of the video, I care about your feedback the most. The other people who skip around and all that, who cares what they think? It's you guys, the real ones who made it to the end of the video. Let me know what you think, and I'll adjust the video for you guys, maybe, unless your advice is bad, in which case, well, you know, what can you do? But I'll read it at the least. That's it. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in another one.